Hello, welcome to Whatever Happened to the Gentleman podcast. This is episode 15 and it's all about limiting yourself because of other people. I am SMr&x and I recently got asked kind of what I do, and my description of myself is I am a healthy relationships coach. I help people work out what a healthy relationship is, how to heal from ones that were not so healthy, so that they can attract the person that they're supposed to be with. I live by 7 core values of life. I truly believe that if you are at a point in your life where you know exactly what you want and you're happy with yourself, then the person that you are supposed to be with will literally just walk into your life. I can't tell you how it will happen, but I can tell you it will, because it happened to me. So based on that, I'm going to go into today's session, and it is all about limiting your beliefs in yourself based on other people's opinions. And the reason that I'm bringing this episode to you today is because this morning with my coach, I realised that is exactly what I have been doing. I realised that I have a stuck mindset around money. And I realised that because of that stuck mindset and because of the stuck mindset of people around me, that it's keeping me stuck in a certain position of life because I feel guilty. So to give you a little bit of a backstory to that, I grew up on a council estate in the UK. If you are in the US, that just means that it's not a great area. There was lots of gangs, there was lots of poverty, there were, people that just didn't really have a lot. And we were one of those families. And my mom, for quite a while, was a single parent. And then when she met my stepdad, she went back to college and she, retrained. She was actually at college at the same time as my brother, which I don't know how I would have felt about that. He was fine about it, but my brother's like way chill and I'm not. She went back to college, she retrained, but during all of that time, we didn't have a lot of money. And I remember that my grandparents, who lived in St Albans and had way more money than we did, would come once a month, every couple of months, and they would bring a car full of stuff. So washing powder, food, toilet rolls, all these different things, because they knew that we didn't have a lot of money and they just wanted to help us out. My nana and granna would take me shopping for new clothes just to help my mum out. And it's wonderful. Like, going shopping with my nana is some of the most wonderful memories that I've got with her, not because she was buying me things, but because just bonding with her and spending so much time alone with her was just fantastic. We grew up where I didn't really do after school activities because we didn't have the money to do it. We didn't go on nice fancy holidays, and I don't want to kind of sound like I'm, being mean to my parents or anything like that, because honestly, they did their best. My mum literally went back to college so that she could change this. And to be fair, she was probably the oldest person in the class, and she did it and she changed it. And our future became much better. But what I heard as a child was that you don't ask for things because we don't have the money to do it. My mum feels a lot of guilt about that, and it's not her fault. That's how we lived. When I then had my daughter, I was in a very similar situation. So I couldn't afford to buy a pushchair for her. I've talked about this many times before. I was 19, didn't have a real job. I was at university, and it was hard. I used to struggle each week to buy milk for her. I would only buy clothes when they were in the sale. And I promised her that this was not her life. I was not ever going to say to her, no, you can't do that because I don't have enough money. And I have pretty much lived to that. And if you ever spoke to her, she would tell you she's done all the things. Every single thing that she said she ever wanted to do, she has done it. Dancing, gymnastics, guitar. Oh, she played the ukulele for quite a while. Pretty much everything that she ever wanted to do up until recently. And as this episode goes out, I'm pretty certain she would tell you, well, she told me that I can't go to Leeds Festival because of money. And I think that is probably the only time that I've said no to her. And it's not so much because of a lack of having the money. It's I've used money as an excuse, but it is really unreasonable. She cannot go to Leeds Festival by herself, which means that I've got to go. And it's unreasonable as a Christmas present to be spending £750 on one present for her, because I have another child who, should get exactly the same, and I try and give them exactly the same every year. That's not a reasonable amount. She's already had money spent. Anyway, that's kind of my story. I realised today that I have not been able to push both of our businesses as much as they can be, because I am stuck worrying about what other people think. And I realised that is how I limit myself. So I'm embarrassed to tell people if I'm going on holiday, because the response that I tend to get from people is, oh, you're always on holiday. Which isn't true. I could always use extra holidays. I like to go on holiday. And then I found myself explaining to them, well, I use a smoke and I don't smoke anymore, and I save that money every day. I literally use to set fire to £10 a day. I don't drink. I don't gamble. I don't do any of these things that people spend a lot of money on. All I do is go on holiday. And I limit some of the other things that I do so that I can do that. But I find myself explaining to people about that, and I don't feel like I actually need to. But what I realised today was that it is actually keeping me stuck. That mindset of feeling like I don't deserve to earn that money. I don't deserve to go on those nice holidays. I don't deserve to have that nice car, whatever it is. And I do feel like that because the way that I approach things with my children is, they can have, within reason, they can have whatever. But with myself, even though I have the money to do things, with myself, I say, no, you don't deserve that. And that is because I realised because of other people's limiting mindsets. I minimise myself because other people don't maximise themselves. And it's not right. Today is Christmas jumper day at school. My son said he didn't want to participate. All of a sudden this year, he hates dressing up randomly. I don't know why. He used to love dressing up. Absolutely best day going to school dressed up as whatever character they were talking about that year. And all of a sudden this year, he doesn't like to dress up. We don't really know where it's come from. We think that potentially someone has taken the mickey out of him, and now he's nervous about going dressed up. So it's Christmas jumper day. I said to him, shall we buy you a Manchester City Christmas jumper? Because, technically it's not really a Christmas jumper, is it? Because it's supporting a team. He was like, no, because people will take the mick saying that Manchester City have lost recently. And I said to him, well, you're going to have to live with that forever. Like, The reality of supporting a football team is that they will lose sometimes, because no one wins forever. If you allow other people to upset you, then maybe you need to be not following a team, because it will last forever. You know, my husband and my dad message each other when the other one's team lost, because that's just how it is, and they're full grown adults. Anyway, he didn't want to wear a Christmas jumper. He came down this morning dressed in his uniform because he said, well, you know, they've said if you're not wearing a Christmas theme thing, then you can't come dressed up. And what I did, I now need to apologise to him for. I went and I got him some trousers, and I got him a top that's got like a little stag on the top. It's tiny. It's like the tiniest stag. And I went downstairs and got him to put these on, and I said to him, look, it's a reindeer. If anyone asks, it's a reindeer. It's Christmas themed. And then I realised, after doing some work on myself today, my worst fears are of either of my children. Well, no, it's not my worst fear. Obviously, there's way worse fears than this. But one of my worst fears is either of my children going to school and everyone else has non-uniform and they don't. And I don't know, like, I can't even remember whether that actually happened to me or whether I saw it happen to somebody else and it was just devastating. But I really hate that idea of them feeling all day like they want to come home because they're not in uniform, because they feel left out. But that's my fear. And actually, my son has gone to school not dressed up, and he's been absolutely fine. He's been okay with it. And I realised, like I say, I've got to apologise to him when he comes home. I stopped him, or I forced him into doing something that he didn't want to do because of the way that I felt. And I don't ever want to be that person for my kids. They have their own minds. They're absolutely brilliant children. They've got their own minds. Who am I to tell them, who am I to tell him that he has to dress up? If he doesn't feel comfortable dressing up, he doesn't feel comfortable dressing up. So today's episode, I want you to think about who is doing that to you. Who is making you dress up and being someone else that you don't want to be? Is there anything from your past that makes you limit yourself? Now, I know my money mindset clearly is a problem, and I need to do some more work on it, and I'm going to do some more work on it for a while, I think. I've got coaches for that. I've got a community of people that will help me with that. What have you got? So you've just realised what your limitations are. Who's limiting you? Who are you being someone else for? What have you got around you to support you in recognising it? Maybe this episode has just made you realise, wow, okay, I didn't realise I was doing that either, Sam. So maybe it's me. Maybe I'm that person. Who else have you got around you that can help you with that? Anyone? Are there things that you want to do, but you doubt yourself? Are there things that you want to do, but you tell yourself, now's not the right time? And I actually had a few people email me. Obviously, the Healing to Date program, the doors closed. And I had people emailing me afterwards saying, I don't think now is the right time. And I simply wrote back, because I am very to the point, there will never be a right time if you keep telling yourself that. Because it's you that's telling yourself that you're not ready. And that might be because of the way that other people have influenced the way that you feel about yourself, which is a whole thing we go into in Healing Today. It's all about working on that and not letting other people's thoughts, feelings and behaviours affect the way that you think about yourself. Do you ever downplay your dreams? Now, this is something, I don't even downplay it. I get a lot of kind of sarcastic comments, even from my husband. And my husband is literally the most supportive person in the world. But I was on the plane recently and I messaged him and I was like, I will never fly economy again. Well, no, I actually said, I will never fly on a return flight to the UK in economy again. And that might not even, it's not a real problem. But he messaged back and was just laughing at me because he's like, that's not a realistic thing to say. I think it is a realistic thing to say. I am quite happy to not buy myself any new clothes for a whole year just so that I can not fly in economy. I'm quite happy to do that because my priorities are different. Like other people buy lots of clothes. I don't really buy lots of clothes. I buy most of my clothes from a charity shop, which kind of goes against what a lot of people think about me. But the majority of my clothes come from a charity shop because it's not that deep for me. What is deep for me is me being comfortable on my way home on a long flight. That's important to me. It might not be important to anyone else, but it is important to me. And my husband just laughed at me about that. When I say to people, I'm going to own a Porsche one day, there are lots of people that go, yeah, right, Sam. And that's fine. That's their thoughts. I have no doubt I've already seen it. I did quite a few meditations where I've become the future version of myself, and I have seen my car. I've seen myself stepping into my car. I know what coat I'm going to wear. I've seen it. It's already happened to me. Any of my listeners that also do this meditation stuff and look at their futures will completely understand that, because they will also know that there are things in their future that have already happened for them. But when people do that to me, I stop telling them things. I stop being me a little bit. And even back to when I was pregnant, when I found out that I was pregnant at 19, the responses from some people: you've ruined your life, you'll never make anything of yourself, I can't believe that you'd be stupid enough to do that. These were responses of people that I thought were close to me. And I always think, even if you don't agree with the decision that somebody says, you don't have to go in so on attack mode. Obviously, those people are eating their words now, because I didn't ruin my life. I made my life. I have a beautiful, beautiful family. And I don't think I would be where I am today without them. My children gave me the strength to leave a relationship that was not okay. And every single time it was hard, every single time I thought it would just be easier to go back, I looked at them and I was like, nah, I don't want this for you. I could have limited myself. I could have thought, actually, yeah, I'm never going to make anything of myself. There's lots of people at my age that would have just, gone and stayed at home all the time. And that's no disrespect to any stay-at-home mums. I don't mean it like that. I just mean that I could have taken what they said and I could have limited myself. And I did for a long while, actually. For quite a few years, I worked, but I didn't truly do what I wanted to do, which was to help people. I played it safe. When I was offered voluntary redundancy, I didn't tell anyone. I told my husband, because it was kind of a joint decision on that, but I didn't tell anyone else that I had taken it until the deadline had gone, because I didn't want anyone else to change my decision. Because I know when people are limiting me. I know when people will make me kind of go on a downer. I know that because I recognise it, because I've done a lot of work. What I didn't realise was that I'm still letting people limit me, just in a different way, and it is kind of subconscious rather than out in the open. So do you downplay any of your dreams for somebody else? Even if it's subconsciously, do you do that? And the last thing I really want you to think about is think of a time when you doubted yourself, you pushed on through, and you succeeded in that thing. And if you write anything down today, write that thing down. Write that one thing down that you succeeded at when you doubted it, and you probably doubted it because other people told you it was a bad decision. You succeeded. Write that down, carry it around with you, because every single time in the future that you doubt yourself, that somebody else doubts you, that someone questions the things that you are doing, because people do that, I want you to get that little slip of paper out and remember exactly about the time that you succeeded. Because you have. And if you've done it before, you can do it again, and you can do it again, and over and over and over again. You can succeed. You can take what you think is right and you can push forward with it. Whether that's in work, whether that's in a random hobby that you want to do. Like, I've got an aim to be able to do 1 push-up. Just 1. I don't care about doing 10. I just want to do 1. But when I've done the 1, I probably will then be like, oh, I want to do 10. Because that's the kind of person I am. If it's relationships, if it's learning about yourself, whatever it is, just remember you can actually do it, because you've done it that time before. You've done something, you've succeeded at something, which means you can succeed again. And that's it. I'm going to leave you with that. Lastly, if you want some help with that, if you want a little bit of encouragement, the doors to Healing Today are closed, but they will reopen. In the meantime, I do have my self-love journal. It's $9.99. I have prompts in there for you to do every single day that will make you feel good about yourself, that will make you celebrate your successes and move forward into your perfect future, the future that you deserve. I'll link that in the show notes. Go ahead, start changing your life, start taking those steps, and stop letting other people limit who you are and who you're going to become, because we only get 1 life and it is way too short. Thank you. I am SMr&x. If you didn't hear that at the beginning, I will speak to you again next week. I cannot wait. See you soon. Just one last thing. I am looking for guests for my podcast. I am looking for experts that would link well with my audience, but I am also looking for single people like my listeners, hopefully my listeners, to come on and do a free session with me. Similar to a one-to-one session, we will talk about what led you here, why that's happened, and then I will give you some actionable steps to take away with from the episode. We can keep you completely anonymous. I do have this really vivid idea of getting people to wear superhero masks. So if that sounds like a bit of you, that would be awesome. If not, you can be Harry Potter, you can be whoever you like, but I can blur out your face. We can not do video if that's how you feel. But I would really love for some real people who are relatable to my listeners to get on here and be able to talk, so that people can realise that their problems are the same problems as other people and they are solvable. Speak to you soon.